IOC calls tests that sparked vitriol targeting boxers flawed. Bangladesh Prime Minister is ousted after weeks of deadly protests. Suspected missile attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels. Nikkei sees worst day since 1987 with Japan stocks in bear market. Rain-related disasters killed over 250 in a week across Asia. In Mexico, a Lucha Libre dog is also a viral meme.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Tuesday, August 6th, and here are your top stories. Olympics organizers said Sunday that the arbitrary testing imposed on boxers Iman Khalif and Ling Yuting, which led to a storm of vitriol misidentifying the women as transgender or men, was so flawed that it's impossible to engage with it. International Olympic Committee spokesman Mark Adams again vigorously defended Khalif and Ling, hammering the sport's now banned governing body, the International Boxing Association, for claiming the fighters failed unspecified eligibility tests for women's competition. Adams criticized the process that singled them out.
The two athletes were carted off and tested during the 2023 Boxing World Championships because there were suspicions against them. Lin and Khalif have been at the center of a clash over gender identity and regulations in sports, as critics have brought up their disqualification last year. The IBA claimed they failed to meet the required necessary eligibility criteria and were found to have competitive advantages over other female competitors. The Russian-dominated governing body was given the unprecedented punishment of being permanently banned from the Olympics last year and has not run an Olympic tournament since the Rio de Janeiro Games in 2016. Adams confirmed that the IOC received a letter from the IBA that was sent in June last year to Olympic organizers.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and left the country on Monday, a day after nearly 100 people were killed in clashes with the police, as student-led protesters demanded she step down. In an address to the nation, the army chief said an interim government would be formed and that every death would be investigated. He implored the public to cooperate and ensure peace. Video footage showed protesters carrying clothes and furniture out of the Prime Minister's residence in Dhaka, which had been left unguarded.
The ouster of Hasina, 76, Bangladesh's longest-serving leader, is a seismic change for the majority Muslim South Asian nation of 170 million people, where at least 300 people have been killed in recent weeks amid a mass movement against what critics said was her increasingly autocratic rule. Hasina's resignation was met with jubilance by people gathered on the streets, some of whom gave flowers to soldiers after they opened the roads. While the protests began peacefully, they evolved into fury against Hasina as the government responded with what critics said was excessive force, which officials denied. It was the deadliest day since protests began in June over a controversial preferential quota system for public sector jobs.
A missile attack by Yemen's Houthi rebels struck a Liberian flag container ship traveling through the Gulf of Aden, marking the first assault by the group since Israeli airstrikes targeted them. The Houthis offer no explanation for the two-week pause in their attacks on shipping through the Red Sea corridor, which has seen similar slowdowns since the assaults began in November over Israel's war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The resumption comes after the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran, amid renewed concerns over the war breaking out into a regional conflict.
The rebels separately claimed to have shot down another U.S. military spy drone without offering evidence. The attack on Saturday happened approximately 225 kilometers southeast of Aden in a stretch of the Gulf of Aden that has seen numerous Houthi attacks previously. It hit the container ship Groton just above its waterline, causing minor damage. An earlier missile attack missed the vessel. The rebels have targeted more than 70 vessels with missiles and drones in a campaign that has killed 4 sailors. They have seized 1 vessel and sunk 2 since the campaign began. Other missiles and drones have been either intercepted by a U.S.-led coalition in the Red Sea or have splashed down before reaching their targets.
Japan stocks confirmed a bear market on Monday as Asia-Pacific markets continued the sell-off from last week, with the Nikkei 225 and TOPIX dropping over 12%. The benchmark indexes have fallen more than 20% from their all-time highs on July 11th. The 12.4% loss on the Nikkei was the worst day for the index since Black Monday in 1987. The point drop was also the largest in terms of points in its entire history. Monday's decline follows Friday's rout, when Japan's Nikkei 225 and TOPIX fell more than 5% and 6%, respectively.
In Monday trading, the yen strengthened to its highest level against the dollar since January, last trading at 142.09. South Korea's Kospi fell 8.1% before trading was halted for 20 minutes starting at 2:14 p.m. Seoul time due to the exchange's circuit breakers. China's service sector expanded at a faster pace, with the country's purchasing managers' index climbing to 52.1. The Caixin survey attributed the acceleration of growth to faster new business growth, supported by sustained improvements in underlying demand conditions and an expansion of services offerings. Taiwan's benchmark index, the Taiwan Weighted Index, was down over 8%, dragged by tech and real estate stocks, while Australia's S&P ASX 200 fell 3.7% to 7,649.6.
In India and China, torrential rains have killed more than 250 people in the past week. Widespread flooding has been reported in North Korea near the border with China, with no word on whether anyone died. This time of year is monsoon and typhoon season in Asia, and climate change has intensified such storms. Heavy rains have triggered landslides and flooding, devastating crops, destroying homes, and taking lives. According to the China Meteorological Administration, historical data shows that China is having more extremely hot days and more frequent intense rains, which forecast more of both in the coming 30 years.
Governments have launched disaster prevention plans to mitigate the damage. Rescue teams scramble to evacuate people ahead of approaching storms and deliver relief goods by helicopter to cut-off areas. China has deployed drones for emergency communication in rain-prone provinces. Heavy rains sent torrents of mud and water through tea estates and villages in Kerala state in southern India early Tuesday, destroying bridges and flattening houses. Typhoon Gami was blamed for more than 30 deaths in the Philippines and 10 in Taiwan as it churned through the western Pacific last week, but it was still fatal after weakening to a tropical storm in China. In North Korea, the rain flooded 4,100 houses, 7,400 acres of farmland, and many public buildings, roads, and railways.
In a youth center's parking lot in Mexico City's Tacuba neighborhood, Baja Man's iconic song "Who Let the Dogs Out" blares through the pair of large speakers. As the infectious melody reaches a crowd of over 100 people, they all begin to chant, "Whistling, whistling, whistling." Quickly, a giant fluffy creature descends 3 flights of stairs, firing off fans as he prances around the perimeter of a wrestling ring. With fluffy ears and a tail on his costume coming unstitched from all the wrestling, Whistling the puppy luchador has captured the imagination of fans across Mexico.
Since early summer, videos of a wrestler dressed as a puppy brawling in Lucha Libre matches have been making the rounds on Mexican social media. Though the popular Mexican form of wrestling has been around for decades, Wizen came onto the fighting scene only a few months ago. Wizen was originally created by the Institute of Youth in Mexico City to motivate children to exercise. However, his character quickly evolved into a viral meme across Instagram, TikTok, and X. One of the first videos of Wizen to emerge showed him wrestling at the same youth center in early May, soaring onto the ring and clocking 1 million views on X.
The answer for yesterday was C, retains. The house retains much of its original charm. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of in Mexico, a Lucha Libre dog is also a viral meme. Number 1, Blare. 发出响亮而刺耳的声音. Music blare out from the open window. Number 2, Prance. 阔步行走，神奇的快速走动. The lead singer was prancing around with the microphone. Number 3, Stitch. 缝补. An agreement was hastily stitched together. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune in to Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I will see you next time.